Meeting this month. Start off with roll call. I'll start off. Patrick Fitzgerald, member present. Whatever the clock was.
Juana Garcia, member present.
Jillian Williams, member present.
Hillary Kerwin, member present.
Tanya Faust, alternate, present.
Kristen Brinker, member present.
Bruce Raymond, member present.
Rick Emmelheinz, member present.
Logan Dunning, member present.
Fantastic. That's everyone we got. So yeah, with that, called out order. No guests tonight. So starting with the approval of last month's minutes. Any questions, comments, edits for last month?
I have one edit, that I was present and Rick was virtually. To just switch those things around.
In person.
So we have update to Hillary, Christine, and Rick present.
All right. If there's nothing else, I'll open up.
Hang on, I was attributed comments, and do you have that? Can you pull it up on the screen? So I was trying to figure out when I said what I said there, and I couldn't remember.
Hey, 1 second.
I don't want to be misquoted. It was something about e-bikes when we were talking about Bellevue.
Okay. Minutes. Okay, yes, we need those updated, and you said go down to the
It was
comments?
down when we were doing the Bellevue thing. Did you put comments in?
And Bellevue Park discussion.
Rick had a safety bag process, was trained on how to deal with signals to cross. That's not me.
Okay,
I don't know who it was.
so update, I'll just say remove Rick comment.
I don't recall exactly the next one that I said, but it could have been me. I was sitting in a camper van in Illinois.
I can strike that too if you don't, because we have the video too, so if you
Yeah,
just
once you take it out, I just don't want it to be.
remove record of Rick ever being there. Okay, any other ones people want to flag? Or if you want me to go back to the notes, let me know.
If not, with those edits, I'll open up the floor for someone to approve last month's minutes.
Motion to approve.
With amendments.
With amendments.
Motion
With
to
the
approve
motion,
with
with the
amendments.
proposed amendments. Sorry, words are hard for me.
We need a second. A second. All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All against say nay.
And I'm sorry, I'm trying to play a little catch up.
Rick and Killian.
For Bellevue project, so it was Rick and then Killian?
Yep.
I'll just note that. One second. Okay, perfect. Proceed.
Perfect. All right, so moving on, public forum. I don't see anyone online or anything. All right, outstanding community projects. No, take it away. Logan?
Yes, I just want to flag that the communications subcommittee will need to meet in November so that we can bring recommendations to the December meeting. My records show that we need to submit our content recommendations for the Spring 26 magazine at our December meeting. So Mel, I will follow up with you directly with some times that work before Thanksgiving so that the subcommittee can meet. And I believe as of last month, that's Pat Lana, Killian, and myself. That's it.
Mhm.
Perfect.
You want our subcommittee report now, or did you had it somewhere later in
That's
the
later.
agenda, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, we have a whole topic on it.
Anyone else? Any other projects? I guess Tracy's not here anymore. Okay, so with that, we can move ahead. Next up is Dr. Cog, I believe.
Yes. So we have the grant due on October 31st. Staff is going on the 20th. We have to get council approval to apply because it's a grant over $100,000. Even though it's no match, it doesn't matter, anything over 100,000 has to go. So what the city of Englewood is going to be applying for is quite a bit, and we had a lot of help from Christine, which was much appreciated. So the cities of Englewood and Sheridan have been collaborating together to see what we can go in on together to have economies of scale with pooling the funds, and what do we want to go in separately. So one thing that we're going for is to contract out with a third party for over 4 years to help us with energy code compliance and plan review. And so we currently already have staff that does this, but I think Christine can correct me if I'm wrong. A lot of times energy code, because it's not like a life or safety thing, can really get breezed over, and that's not what we want. We want people to adhere to our energy code. So it'll be a specific person that or people that does that, and it'll really alleviate burden on our staff. So we're really happy about that. We're also applying for conference beneficial electrification conferences, trainings for staff, so we can be up to speed for each year. And then another really exciting one, this is one we're collaborating with Sheridan on, is for a full-time building electrification specialist. Don't quote me on that title, it'll be something similar to that. But essentially this person is the go-to resource for residential, commercial, and municipal internal for anything dealing with building electrification. So they'll be really front-facing, they'll be at events to do education and outreach, but then say someone in the building department, when we do code updates, is like, hey, I'm just not as privy on the energy code side, they'll be really that go-to person there. They're also gonna be a huge help with Eden and our Green Business Program. He does these really incredible opportunity assessments for every business that goes through it. But building rebates, building programs that are available, it can be really overwhelming for a business to understand what's available to them. So we'll have that kind of heavy lift off of Eden so he can focus on all the other sustainability stuff. And then this person can really help him with the building things so we can make sure our businesses are also getting the best information possible there.
How long will that person be funded for?
4 years. Yeah, 4 years. We do have in the job description that nothing is guaranteed after the 4 years, but hopefully they do such an incredible job that we'll want to keep them up forever and ever, but at least we have them for 4 years, which is a really good chunk. And then the last piece that we're going for, something I asked when I met with the reps at Dr. Cog, the Denver Regional Council of Governments. I was like, what are other communities asking for that you think would be really impactful that we shouldn't skip up on either? And they were saying that Dr. Cog as an entity is looking at this thing called HERS. It's a home energy, I always look to Christine for these. Do you remember the acronym Home Energy Rating System? So that's just a general term.
And score, score.
Yeah. And essentially it's like a very comprehensive energy assessment of your home. And so there are other communities throughout the US, not many, but some, that have implemented this already, where at the time of sale for a single family home, you essentially get a HERS, home energy score. And it's not mandatory that you do any of the things that they find, but they'll say, okay, out of a scale of 10, your home is 3. It's really low on energy efficiency. Here's why. Here are all the ways that you can upgrade them. So it's an extra piece of knowledge that they can have. So what they said is, well, DRCOG is trying to be kind of that backbone for it. Some communities are setting aside where if that does go through, then they have funds to really help implement that in their communities. So we're setting aside a big chunk to do that as well. And then after that, that really uses up all of our $600,000. So a lot of stuff can be done with that money, which we're really, really happy about. And a lot of it can be done because of that partnership with Sheridan too, which I think just proves the power of partnering with your neighbors. So that was a lot. So any questions from folks? Yes.
Would the HERS thing be, you said setting aside money in case it, would it be a state mandate or?
No, it's not a state mandate. So no state currently has it as a mandate by any means. So I believe it's like Ann Arbor, Michigan has a program similar, and essentially it would be looking into, not saying that you would, DRCOG would look into what would it be like if a place had a policy where at point of sale, you just had to get a HERS inspection, which I think is anywhere from $200 to $400. Don't quote me on those. But then at the point of sale, that person who's ever getting that building next has that information. But there's no mandate that they have to upgrade anything, purely informational.
For the seller is the person that would get that information?
I'm not sure. Oh, both parties would
Both
probably be
parties
likely to
would
have
get
that
it.
information, yeah.
In the discussions I've heard, HERS scores would be one option, but those are really comprehensive and somewhat more expensive, and they're more typical on new homes. And there's other scoring systems, and so maybe an optimal program would allow various scoring options and then behind the scenes convert that into, for instance, a letter grade or something easily understood by a buyer who could then use the free market to look for a better home, or at least know what they're getting into, kind of a fair consumer practice. And then sellers may choose to make upgrades if they want their score to look better for potential buyers, but they wouldn't have to. So it's really information only to help wise decision making at the time of sale.
Curious if either of you think it has potential to expand into a program that's potentially available for people, existing homeowners or single family renters, just because I'm kind of thinking of it in relation to like the Excel Energy Squad, which is pretty limited in scope in terms of what they do with their visits. And then there's the Arapahoe County weatherization, which is great, but income restricted. So if you're just above that threshold, but you might still not necessarily have the resources to just do all of this out of your own pocket. If there's any access to that for people who like their home and aren't moving anywhere, but would maybe want to know.
Yeah, one of the programs, when I was trying to do research on the places that have it, one of them had an option if you were a current homeowner, you could just sign up for it. Where I think for the point of sale would making it like you have to get this for the point of sale, versus it would just kind of be on like your own accord if you wanted to do it.
Potentially something that could be offered once the program's established.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
But again, very like explore. It's
Yes.
like funds for exploratory. With DRCOG doing all the heavy lifting, hopefully. Logan, I saw you had your hand up.
I did. My question was sort of pseudo answered. One, just for clarification, is the electrification position housed within the sustainability division and not public works? Did I hear that? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're correct. Yeah.
Love that. And two, and it was kind of already talked about, but with regard to like providing a energy efficiency grade, is that what? Can you go over, you or Christine, like the benchmarking? I think I misheard. And is there a component, or could there be a component where you can compare yourself to like your neighbors or your neighborhood or something like that?
I'm going to be fully transparent. I'm not really privy on how their programs run and what's included and not included, because the ones I've looked into, both of them look a little different. One seemed like it was on a scale of 1 to 10. One seemed like it was on a scale of 1 to 100. The thing with you and your neighbor, I'm pretty sure there's like privacy things where you can't really see what your neighbor is doing. Maybe on a neighborhood scale, that could be a thing, but I'm just not positive. I don't know if Christine has any.
What I'd heard is like we were talking about before, the most typical is the HERS score, but that's more expensive and more comprehensive, and that's 1 to 150, where lower is better. And then there's the DOE home energy score, which is 1 to 10, where higher is better. And that's just annoying. And so maybe that's why all of those would be allowed and then turned into a letter grade. And I guess you would be able to compare yourself to other sellers and probably stay on Zillow, just like how it does for other realty metrics. And then related, I've heard of programs, and I feel like Excel did it on a pilot, but I don't know the current status, where this is totally separate from that realtor discussion. But they would send you basically like a smiley face or a frowny face or somewhere in between and say, here's how your house compares to other houses of similar size and characteristics. And so they wouldn't reveal anyone's private information. You wouldn't know whose house you're being compared to. But you also wouldn't be compared to a mansion in Aspen or an apartment or something that's totally different than your situation. So it gives you a sense of where you stand. But
Yeah,
then
thank you.
not a detailed list of what you need to do. It's just information only. So I don't know if that's a program they still have somewhere or not. I haven't heard about it, at least in the past few years.
I know it'll tell you if you use more energy than your neighbors, because I have a really inefficient house and it tells me that for sure. I'm like, oh, the shame I get every time I open this. Another thing I really like with DRCOG taking that initiative is there's so many communities in DRCOG, and kind of like what we just said, there's like different ways to do everything. So if we all as a Front Range could just be on one program, that makes it easier. Again, very in beginner phases, but I think that would just be really easy.
I think the rentals are a different phase. Maybe you start with single family sales and townhomes and duplexes and then go from there. Because that's the lower end, and then we already have the bigger end for commercial and multifamily buildings that are large, 50,000 square feet and up, the benchmarking, like Logan was mentioning. And so we still have that middle to work on other policy combinations in the future.
One thing the BE specialist we have in their job description, their mock-up one right now, is that they would work with multifamily, and Excel has a really incredible multifamily program for free that they'll go in and they'll update all your lighting and do all these things. But it's the issue of getting in front of the property owner. Sometimes those owners live in a completely different state. So we're gonna have them do that job. Like, you find the people to talk to. Any other questions or concerns or comments?
Do you expect this to be approved by council?
I hope so. I don't think there's anything in here really that, what's the word I'm looking for? Oh my gosh, I can't think of it. There's nothing in here too crazy, you know, and it's
Yeah.
free money. There's no match.
Yeah,
I don't see
there's
it
no
really.
downside really.
There's literally no downside. And for the position, these funds cover their benefits, their, like, it
Good,
covers
good.
it all.
Good.
Yeah, which is really nice. But yeah, fingers crossed on 10/20, I guess, or else it'll be out $600,000 for, yeah, that'll be wild, but we'll get to that road when we get there. All right.
Good, yeah. So we'll move on to the next one, which I believe is our native plant study session recap. Ready to take it away.
The subcommittee and our two current community members finally got our presentation option. And so Elizabeth and I and Dana stood before council on the 8th, I guess it was, 6th. And pleasantly, Bruce was there and Hillary was there and Tracy was there also. So we kind of were a big team. And it just, I think the presence of all of us made a big difference. We had put together basically an enhanced version of the same presentation that we made to the commission. A few more details with a few more specifics within it. The presentation I felt went well. We had, all three of us kind of ping-ponged between different slides so they didn't get the same droning Rick voice the entire time. And they were attentive to it. I think that being that it was early on, they hadn't had a lot coming at them, so they were still pretty attentive to what was going on. I would say that the overall reaction we got was positive. Most of the people on council seemed to feel that it was an excellent idea. And I do also feel that there were questions which were brought up, which we will be addressing. Some of the questions which came up, which I think we need to be a little bit harder in terms of the facts, have to do with the funding aspect of it. There were specifics about how do you want it funded, what do you need funding for. We were purposefully vague with that, as we were saying we were embryonic in that process. The other question that came up had to do with the city commitment to it and how that would impact the staffing aspect of it, how many hours we would need from city employees and things like that. My personal frustration was that I didn't get any specific council direction at the end about what we needed to do to bring it back before them again. And so I've asked that question of the mayor, actually Monday or Sunday afternoon after an event that we were both at. And because he was there, he was not there, but he was virtually there. He had seen the presentation, that he was going to go back to council last night during the members' option time and ask council what the specifics were going to be for that. And I think he was going to be here. He probably got, whatever his schedule is. But essentially, the upshot was that there was complete approval around the table for the concept. And the only question that was asked at that time was Member Wright asked about wanting to see the application process form before it went public. So that was a small ask. The also implied with that when Mayor Sierra was talking was that we would have permission to approach communications, specifically Chris, and that we could have a meeting with them to present to them what our needs were going to be and have them put together a sort of how many hours they saw that as taking from their department. And I would also would like a meeting with Sustainability Department to figure out what the commitment hours-wise would be from you also. Then we'll pull the financial part of it together. We're in the process of planning a meeting either at the end of next week or sometime soon to actually begin that process of coming up and gelling those ideas. So that's kind of where it's at. And I welcome the other members who are sitting here to add any thoughts to that. Bruce?
Also, if you haven't seen the presentation, it's filmed and you should go watch it because they did a really good job. I was sitting there at my conference, I was like, yes!
We celebrated afterwards.
I think it's a great recap. I have nothing to add.
Okay.
Just that you did a great job.
Well, thank you. I mean,
And
we've all done a good job moving
Yes,
this needle
team
this far
effort with the
forward.
presentation
And
was
we're
really
still
nice.
hoping that, we can get some things moving ahead to hit that goal of starting the program in February. If it's not February, it's March, but looking again at a one-year pilot for the program. So, anything
And
else?
so kind of a next step after that, they did bring up that we should look at how to give it longevity, in the sense that we're not all on the commission forever. And so what will give it a life that can, assuming the first year is successful, what can continue it on down the road.
And I would like, if we have a moment, and we do have a little time, is to open that up to the commission to continue to explore how do you feel, how would it be structured, assuming this thing is successful and assuming that we don't necessarily have, anyone on staff per se focused on that. I'd rather play the sort of negative game and say there isn't anybody, but this commission would be responsible for keeping this ball rolling forward. How does the commission feel about it? What do you feel would be a device to be able to allow that to have some continuity?
One thing that we talked about would be like a permanent standing subcommittee that would be responsible for reviewing people's applications as one mechanism for longevity and ownership by the commission.
So how would that differ from the committee you all already have? Are you talking about like a separate commission, like a native?
No, like how we have the standing communications group, because I think the one that we were in was time limited in a way to stand up the program.
The definition, I think, of our subcommittee is a development committee. I think we view ourselves as moving the whole thing forward and then monitoring it through the first year. But the concern the council had was what happens, and they asked us when our terms were ending. It was like, I don't know when my term. But they ask everyone when your term ends. And there's enough of us that are new, but Bruce is just new to it. So there would be that natural continuity. But then what happens when the last person's off who had the rah-rah to do this? Does it become a burden on the commission then as something that they don't necessarily support but are committed to? So that's kind of the discussion.
That's a good question. I guess I would just hope that as new members circled in, that we'd be aware that there is a standing committee. It's kind of the only way I see it making sense. And that there would be people to step up and do it. I don't know.
Because theoretically, the lift is just as those forms come in, it's just reviewing them on an ad hoc basis. Like, I don't know if you'll get a rush in March as people are planting stuff. I feel like it'll kind of slowly spread out throughout the year. I don't know. I don't know if I see it as such a crazy big lift, but I think it's a valid question about continuity moving forward.
Is it possible to integrate it into our meetings? I don't know, like what the rule, like if you're like, okay, at this meeting, we're gonna take half an hour to go through this as a group.
Welcome to decide however you want to use
So
your
we could-
meeting time.
There's different ways of doing it. You either have a standing subcommittees off doing all the work,
Yeah.
or you bring it on maybe a routine basis back as a topic that should be addressed on a quarterly basis or something like that line. In addition, I think, Patrick, to the idea of reviewing the applications, our goal would be to have regular programming that would be directed toward the people within the program to heighten their knowledge base, to show them resources, to perhaps do walk and learns in Depot Park, which is one of the ideas that we've been having. So there's kind of there's an ongoing coordination of things. It's its own little mini subcommittee within a committee kind of thing. And I think that, so it does require a little more than just the application. The applications, of course, are important and a timely piece to that. Coordination with communications on how to market it and get the word back out to people. Who's buying signage? How many signs do we have left? How many do we need to order? Little, kind of minutia kind of things like that also. So that would be the kind of thing that some group would need to maintain and continue on beyond our existence on this committee.
So is the alternative then potentially transferring over to the city, make it a sustainability department something, or then would we need to hire on someone specific for that? That's the alternative path, I guess?
Gosh, it'd be nice if it was that big.
Yeah, I know. I know.
The question came up from one of the council people about this,
Yeah.
and I turned it on her and I said, Member Wright, would that be the problem? No, the problem is going to be, how are you going to fund this excellent act program that has taken on national status? And you're going to bring, how many support staff are you going to need to hire? You just got to turn it. But it's a concern. And you brought up a good point, and we talked a little bit about that, I think, afterward, is it could fall under sustainability's department as a standing group that, another piece of this. It could, if, let's say that the city did not embrace it the way we might want, it could become a program under another organization or a nonprofit organization that would be a feeder program into an Englewood, as they might do to other areas once it was developed. So there are certainly ways that the baby could grow.
I'll also say with the pilot year, you usually have those growing pains of figuring out what your needs are, and you won't know until it gets started. But I think there are a lot of options for longevity, which is a good one. Obviously, under sustainability division, I know Tracy's now with Parks, and she has really great knowledge on that. Maybe it's a marriage between Parks and sustainability. But yeah, really having that incubator of the subcommittee for the first year to find out those pains.
So do you think when you go back to council, you could have a list of these different options and say that as you go through the initial year, you'll figure out which one is most suitable? Just show that there's lots of options.
They haven't specifically requested much beyond just the more specifics that we've talked about. What I got from Mayor Sierra was, give us the information that the questions that they've asked. I'm not even sure that they want us to approach council again about this. I think what they want to have is a couple questions answered and then we can move forward. It's kind of and I mean, he was really casual about it. Says, yeah, you should be able to go to communications and get that information. You know, he didn't feel that there was anything inhibiting us from doing this. It's just, we wanted a little bit more of an official sort of blessing moving forward. They're not really ready to give it. And I get it, but I think we need to keep moving forward. And so the next steps, and this is, Mel and I really haven't talked outside of this meeting about it, but would be to get those arrangements set up with communications and take the next steps that way.
We have a really cool recording booth that
Yeah,
you can use.
I want to do a video. I mean, it'd be really fun.
Yeah, the city
Do
has all
something like
that
that.
stuff. That's how I took that study session too. Typically, if there are things that give council like heartburn, they're gonna tell you that in the meeting. So the fact that there wasn't any, usually that's like a good graces of like, okay, you're good to keep going.
Right.
Yeah.
What's lovely.
Yeah.
That's the feeling we got. Dana brought up a good point. She threw a line out that got their attention. She says, you know, if we don't do something like this for lawns that are suffering right now, or that people don't want to continue to water, et cetera, it's going to bring property values down. And it lit up at least 4 of the council. The property value is going to drop. So, you know, there are some downsides to it, and we feel like we can support and improve property values throughout the city with the program.
But also knowing that this program does not have to be the fix-all for every lawn program in Englewood.
Exactly.
I have a question. Oh,
Sorry, go ahead.
Wasn't there something with code recently in the last couple months where, whatever happened with that? We needed to get code on board to do the native planning, or?
As I put together the memo to council, preparing them for it, I went back to code. Here's some changes coming down with code too, but it's kind of on the side. But I went to code and I said, would you be willing to write an endorsement for this program to explain the advantages that code would have? As city employees, they could not do that. And but I also indicated that code was positive on this, you know, that this was a positive measure on their part. The upshot is that if we get this program in place, that by placing signs in yards that are in process, that's going to be one less thing that the homeowner has to worry about as far as what could happen in terms of being cited for weeds and that kind of thing. So that is definitely a big piece of this, is that we will still do that.
Do you think, in terms of this commission's support for the longevity of that subcommittee, to me, it seems more like, I don't know if I think that like the whole commission's time for like approving individual applications is necessarily appropriate, but I do think that we should all, that I feel like we should all support the program. Do you think that like a standing update kind of, you know, just kind of built in the same way we have the standing Dr. Cog update, or if we were to have that be a standing part of our minutes, at least for the duration of the pilot, that would give you kind of time to ask for support from other committee members if you needed it at any point, or to gauge interest in filling subcommittee vacancies, and or is that something that we can do in this meeting right here?
Yeah, I mean, we would normally have a subcommittee update anyway,
Okay.
of some kind. But the idea of it actually being in place is enshrined in the agenda, so to
And
speak.
it's something you could tell council, is what I'm thinking,
Mhm.
is we do have standing updates in our agenda to make sure that we have the support of the full commission. It's not just our little pet project, it's.
Assuming this goes the way we want it to go.
Okay.
I see this as by this time next year, we, as a commission, are sitting here talking about the success of the program. And at that time, though, what you're describing and what we're talking about becomes sort of the next step thing, is are we successful? Do we feel like we're on a roll with this? Now, how do we enshrine this? What do we do? Because this is a pilot. You know, it will go through the end of next year, and then it will pretty much be done unless this commission, probably with the blessing of the city, continues to move this forward, so.
Another thing to keep in mind is council could look quite different after November. So maybe that's just another update to them in December or January or something, but I can ask Tim and Sean what they think of that, but it will be a little different.
If we did that, would that look like a memo or another study session?
I think that could just be a memo, but let me ask people that make more money than me that question.
The impression I got from the mayor was a memo would be sufficient to address some of these questions. And I think that we don't want to take up any more of their time. They're plenty busy as it is. If they just got an information that said we're moving forward in this way, here's what the discussions we've had, here's our next steps, that kind of thing. I think it keeps them in the loop. That's what they really want to be, is in the loop. I think. Thank you.
I apologize if you addressed this in your presentation, which I did not get to watch, but I'm going to when I can. And the word certification for me means like a level of expertise is providing this certification. Who actually is doing that?
Who's
Fair
doing
question.
that?
Like,
I'm
is it
gonna
just
stop talking, you guys will
self-attestation,
talk.
or-
You mean like whether anyone on the committee has,
Like what, if you use the word native plant, that means something.
right?
And certified native lawn, or like to me says there should be a level of academic expertise providing this certification. Because that's what I think of when I hear that. And I ask this because I want the commission to be able to support this and make recommendations to support this, not to try to like bat it down at all.
Yeah, one of the ideas that had been come up in, I remember in discussion, was that there would be prepared not only resources, but lists of what qualifies, that type of thing. And so basically, I don't know that any of us feels like we're experts on it.
Well, nor do we have time to go out and like
Right.
put a magnifying glass to people's lawns either.
But hopefully we could have the experts
Okay.
be part of, help us and identify things if we have issues with it.
But right now it's
Putting
more
together
like
the list.
kind of a self-attestation of these are the expert resources that I'm using to create my own native garden is kind of like we're basically the facilitators between the expert and your lawn or your garden that's
I think
I solemnly swear that I have looked through all this info and have applied it. I'm not
But
saying.
you're
I
absolutely
mean
right.
this.
I'm not laughing yet because you're absolutely right. It is that.
But no, but the link there to the expert information and the what we're presenting them as far as resources and where that's coming from is important, and I'm glad that you have that there. And I would love for the commission to have maybe this is the next month thing, is to kind of review those resources and make sure that everything's still up to date and up to
Yeah.
kind of modern standards.
Yeah, it
I
might change.
1000% agree that you want to have some oomph behind a certification, and I don't want to offer up this person if this is not in their capacity. But one thing, maybe this is a meeting with the subcommittee, the Parks Department, and myself, but Tracy, she's an expert in this field. I know myself, her, and a few parks folks are going through the Sustainable Landscape Certification Program in like the beginning of the year, so she'll be certified, I'll be certified, so there can be that excellence, because I absolutely agree. You don't want to be like, we just threw a sign in there
Yeah.
because you have a pen
And
student.
it's
Like-
not that we're expecting you guys or anyone else to actually be on site certifying the law, so it's more like we have certified the resources that we are pulling from. Because you can find a lot on the internet, so that's I am certifying to city and to code that I am, trying my best to make my garden adhere to these principles, and these principles have been reviewed according to sustainability practices.
Right. There are specifics that we came up with, bullet point specifics on the sizing, the variety of plants. And as Bruce said, there will be a listing of suggested plants that can be used. There cannot be just one type of plant that you do everywhere. It has to be a mix. We are blessed with 2 members of this subcommittee, both of whom are the community members who come with a wealth of information. One is Tracy and one's Dana. And so they have really guided us thus far in terms of how to structure this thing. While they continue to serve within this, we'll be able to tap that knowledge base. And we are going to, part of the process of this is to go to Dana, for instance, and say, Dana, give us 5 resource links that we can put on this website that you know are good, that they can use, people can reach out to and find information from to bring back to their plan. So yes, we are looking for ways to educate these people to, in fact, certify them that they have done the job, done the due diligence, is really what you're certifying, is due diligence to do this.
One thing too is you all purposely didn't get into the nitty gritty of the application and everything because you had to go through council first before you potentially, right, if they all hated it, then it would have been a waste to dig deep. So now I'm assuming the subcommittee
You're
is
ready
gonna
to go.
meet
Cool.
and really dive into that and dig
More
it out.
detailed layer of how it works.
That's what the next 3 months are supposed to be, is the dig deep, the hard details, all of the website, the web presence, whatever that ends up looking like. And that's what we're gonna talk to communications about. How do we do this? Where do we park this? How do we link it up and those kinds of things? So we are ready and anxious actually to get on to the next step of this. And it just needed a council to give us tacit approval. Anything else? Thank you for your feedback, especially Colleen, thanks.
Can I move to add that standing update?
Sure.
I move to add an agenda item for standing updates
Wait.
from.
Sorry, just
Yeah, let me
clarity.
know what the procedurals.
We do already have standing community projects
Okay, so
updates,
that
and
is-
this typically is where like Logan will tell a communications subcommittee.
Okay.
So just to not make it confusing, do you all want it broken out of like communication subcommittee and then native plant subcommittee? Do you just want this to maybe be changed to just subcommittee updates?
I forgot that we typically use this for subcommittees.
But however you all wanna structure it, doesn't,
I was just trying to get something that you could speak to in a memo to council about the longevity of the program. Say this is in our agenda.
And maybe for this first year, we should stick with the way it is, just being a subcommittee that reports we're all asked to report anyways.
Okay.
And then part of the evaluation at the end of the year can be, okay, now what do we do permanently?
I
Can
can
we just
even.
add community and subcommittee projects? Just to make it clear.
Community and, yeah, and that doesn't need a vote, that's easy peasy. Unless anyone disagrees, I mean, this can just be a normal conference.
Do you want sub-community or subcommittee?
Oh, oops, subcommittee. Standing space. Our community and subcommittee updates, subcommittee.
want committee after standing as well, don't you? Up there on the tile.
Yeah, the first one.
Yeah, the first one, you need to change that to committee. Standing
This?
committee.
No,
and-
it's still,
Or
it's
standing
also,
community?
Yeah, this was,
Community?
this was asked to be put on there a while ago because Tracy had a lot of outside community events.
Oh, okay.
So that it was just like a
Oh,
general
okay.
hands-off community project update. This can look however you all want. It can look like just subcommittee.
Good to me.
I like it.
This is good.
Yeah, that's fine.
Maybe I'll change this to like a plant or something. Make a list.
We don't need a
Stuffy
resolution for
corporate.
this. No, we don't need a resolution for this. This is just rewording this.
Yeah, this is just
That's
rewording.
good.
Truly, Pat could have just said, this is how he wants it, and then that's the power of the chair.
Well, thanks to you guys and everyone's hard work on this. Super promising, and I can't wait to see what comes of it, so.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome, so next up, we have, moving on with our Bellevue Park discussion. I don't know if anyone had any standing items here, or just reopen the Q&A.
it sounded last time like we were still very, very early phase, and kind of waiting on, you know, that parks, and didn't really have much until they had bids. I'm just curious if there's even like a timeline update on the bids.
Not that I heard, and I think it was either Elizabeth or Logan or both, I can't remember, that just wanted this as like a standing item, just to keep it at the front of everyone's minds, if there's anything people wanna like chat about, questions, even though I won't be able to answer them, I can relay them.
Yeah, I was not able to attend the most recent oversight committee this month. I just had a work commitment overlap, and so I don't have an update this month, but I can check with Elizabeth and see if there's anything we need to report out.
I'm just glad we're on top of monitoring it.
I think it can go, I'm just looking at my notes from last time, I think it can go beyond monitoring if we want. So I have that we can make a unified recommendation, and that some of us can go to design study meetings. So it's too early for the design study meetings, but we could work on a commission recommendation if we have strong thoughts about what they should do in the park.
Hey, Logan, going back to what you've done already with that group, are they looking to you and Elizabeth to bring the sort of native plant sustainability perspective to whatever current project is being addressed? Is that your take?
Yes, that's accurate. Yeah, not it's broader than just native plants, right? It's water conservation, tree cover, all things sustainability. That's the lens that we bring to those meetings and provide feedback, and then we liaise between this commission and the oversight committee for any recommendations that we want to bring to any particular projects.
Do you know where they're at on what park's being addressed when and that kind of thing?
I'm behind the 8 ball because I missed the last meeting, but I did check the website and they are updating it regularly, Rick, on the renew and recreate. So I would look there for any specific park updates.
Okay, thank you.
As far as a recommendation, is that something that any committee member or commission member can bring, like draft on their own time and then bring before the commission rather than us having to work on that, the actual wording of it as a group?
Yeah,
Okay.
if you and one other commission member
Yes,
want to work on
exactly,
it,
one.
you totally can. Yeah, that's totally fine. And also too, if you want to make a comment as a resident, as yourself, you all are
Yeah.
more than free to do that. It's only if you want to as a collective group. You can do both,
What's the website again?
renew and recreate.
It's just renew.
It's like Englewood Renew and Recreate,
Englewood.
I want to say. Let me make sure I'm not leaving you astray.
Anyone else dying to take that on? Because if not, I'll volunteer myself to maybe bring a draft before the commission next month.
Yeah, if you
That'd be
Google
great.
Englewood Renew and Recreate, it'll be, for me, it's one of the first ones that pops up.
Oh, okay.
Take it away.
Number 2. And then I know Rick and I, like, that's our park, so
That's your part.
we'll have
Okay.
strong feelings.
Well, and I guess from my take on it, and I had, been almost on that group too. But every time they do a project, it would be kind of neat to have like a checklist that was driven by this committee, this commission, of what it is that we would like to see added to that review, that discussion, with the architects, with the landscapers, whoever it is. It's easy checklist, and I think we talked about that a while back. I think even here, and maybe it was brought up with Adrian, I don't remember, but.
Yeah, the ecological tracker.
Right,
Mm-hmm.
right.
So that one's already good to go. It's with Parks. And it'll be used for all the Parks Bond one. Bellevue, I think, was the anomaly because it's so unique, but let me check with them. But that's the one you all went through and approved. So that's the tracker that they're looking at and the one that's gonna be implemented.
For Bellevue specifically, I mean, I don't think the design is going to be done maybe by next summer. I mean, we have time on Bellevue specifically. But yeah, I think a check-in with them would be good.
And so sidetrack, so with that tracker, as they're doing it for the projects, is that something that'll then be published publicly or, okay, not just like an internal document?
No, so the whole thing is to bring for at the resiliency workshops, something people really wanted to see was transparency in the parks with the updates.
Got it.
Our dream would be to do a before and after of the guidelines of where it falls. Can't guarantee that, people are strapped, but at least it would have, here's what your after park has. It has this many native plants, this percentage of X, Y, and Z. And then maybe have even a little more detail on it. Because something we were talking to parks about, and they agree, is people are really passionate about the parks that they live by. So if they could go online and say like, ooh, this is what my park has. I think one, it'll save them a lot of time and questions that people may have, but then also give a lot of pride for that park and what it does have.
So people are already up, Base Logan's got that going on around it right now. Just everybody in my neighborhood's really excited about them.
Mm-hmm. We love parks.
I don't recall why the focus is only on Bellevue. Is it that the other projects are more focused already and this park has the biggest changes? Or I'm trying to remember why it was Bellevue specific that this committee was.
Logan, do you have background on that? Because I know it was from the Parks Bond Committee that you and Elizabeth brought this.
It was Bellevue specifically because it was the issue with the farm being in the floodplain, and they couldn't build anything in where the previous farm footprint is, and so they flagged as an initial sort of project for us as a commission what they wanted recommendations on what we could put there, and so it just so happens that this project is planned so far out that we're just still, they just finished the feasibility study and they're just working through starting the design phase. So that was the reason. The reason Bellevue was flagged was because of the floodplain and the farm.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
Well, if there's anything else, go ahead and move on to our next topic, city updates.
Yeah, so we already got the update that on the 6th, Rick and team gave a great presentation. On the 20th, we have 2 big items coming. We have the study session review of the Community Climate Resiliency Framework. That framework final document is chef's kiss. It's so beautiful. Our graphic designer did such a great job. Colton did such a great job. I think you all are gonna be so pleased. Something else that we did is we sent a survey out, Hillary and Killian, I hope you got this one, of the feedback for the draft one a few weeks ago.
I filled it out.
Okay, perfect, yes.
So it has it closed?
It did, but that's okay. So we sent a very bare bones draft document to folks being like, does this meet what you all were hoping at the workshop? We got really positive responses. And the final framework reflects that. So I believe the packet will be published on Friday. I'm gonna make a mental note and write it down to send it to all so you all have it. But yeah, it just looks really, really good. So that's going on the 20th. Does anyone have any lingering comments or anything from that framework going? We'll also talk about it. I'll have a little update on it in November after we get feedback from council, but I just want to give time if anyone have any.
That was my question, is if November's council is also gonna get a full presentation or not.
I know, we were like, this is such,
Who
we only
is
have our
still
intern for a
right
certain
there.
amount of time, and so we had to do end of October, but that is when the project wrapped up and was done. So one thing, we have a thing of next steps after the presentation. One of them is to get kind of what Rick and team got, this general consensus that they like what they're seeing. And then also, this actually wraps into this final point that I put in here. So the city strategic 2026 and 2030 planning is gonna be starting December of this year into like March of next year. They're really spanning it out so it can be really full. So that is one thing that we're requesting of them is, hey, we just want to make sure that either this plan can be a plug-in framework or essence of these can make it into the 2026 to 2030 strategic plan, since these were solutions and recommendations from residents themselves. But yeah, it is very unfortunate timing because we're gonna have a new council, but that council will get it again when they go through the strategic planning process.
And is this a council regular or a study session?
I wanna say it's council regular. And then we also have the Dr. Cog, it is council regular because the Dr. Cog grant approval will be on there, so that's 2 big items. And then the other thing is we have the Fix It Clinic this Saturday, hopefully still on. We have 3 fixers, one of them being the great Rick Emmelheims. But I know Saturdays can be a little tricky, but if you know of anyone who is a good fixer and wants to come, let us know. We do have someone who repairs clothes, Rick who repairs everything, and and someone else who's good at electrical, so I think we have like a good variety. But yeah, that'll be on the 18th. And then my final thing, just coming back to the strategic plan, so it is gonna be a longer process because it's gonna be a 5-year plan. But I will say, start as early as possible of thinking of what you would want the strategic plan sustainability section to look like. Something that I do is going through the plan we have now, where I'm seeing gaps, and then recommendations that I'm gonna have. So I recommend you all doing it the same because I don't want you all feeling like, oh, we're getting asked what's in there. This is really fast. So just bubble on it for a bit. I know the city's gonna be reaching out. They have a third party who's gonna be helping them. I wanna say it's sometime in January, so we have time. Just let it simmer, let it percolate. And that's all my city updates. I don't know.
Can I ask a question on that?
Yes.
What's the difference between the strategic plan and the comprehensive plan?
We may, the sphere I mainly work in is the strategic plan. So that's where the sustainability plan is housed. I know at Sheridan, they work through their comprehensive plan. And when we adopted a sustainability plan, we did a resolution where it was just like part of the comprehensive plan at that point. But Englewood mainly works within the strategic plan.
Do we have both?
I don't think we have a comprehensive plan. If we do, I look at the strategic plan.
And how would the strategic plan sustainability section tie in with or reference or anything the climate resiliency framework?
So we currently have it in the strategic plan. We have to wrap up the framework. So check that after the 20th. So what we're hoping is that if we get general approval, that when they do start these conversations, that when council does, that one, they're already comfortable with the solutions that are within the framework, that we can bring it to them. And hopefully maybe they say, we want this as like a plug-in framework of saying like complete everything in the framework, or if they want to pick and choose stuff, it's totally up to them. But yeah, just putting it on their radar so it doesn't come to them cold when it's actually time to implement. Okay.
Now, there is an Englewood comprehensive plan.
Oh no, is it old?
No.
Oh!
In 2025, the city is updating the Englewood Forward Comprehensive Plan to reflect recent progress and emerging factors in Englewood's growth. So there is a comprehensive plan.
That might be the strategic plan.
It could be that these are the things.
Because they're updating the 2025 to the 2026 to 2030. Because a lot of times comprehensive and strategic are like intermingled as one. Like Sheridan doesn't have a strategic plan, it only has a comprehensive plan. Yeah,
Semantics.
If you find an answer, could you let us know next time?
yes, yes.
So if the planning phase goes through March, when does it become implemented?
Once council adopts it.
So like in 2026 and then it would go through
2030. Mm-hmm. All right, then the next one is just November meeting ideas, and I just threw the resiliency framework update, continue the Bellevue Park discussion, and then something I want to make sure doesn't get lost is that IT really would love recommendations from the Sustainability Commission on what you all would like to see for Angle Fix, like specific for the micromobility. That could be such an easy win. So if you all are open for it, I think that would be a great discussion, like homework before the meeting, and then everyone can kind of come with what they're thinking.
Sorry, what's the Angle Fix?
So, you were here, no worries. So, something we talked about for resiliency, the resiliency framework when it came to transportation specifically, was the feeling of unsafety for micromobility and biking.
Oh, okay.
And then not having a way to really express what areas need work, like say there's a confusing bike path or signage or anything. So we already have Angle Fix, which does everyone know what Angle Fix is?
No, that's kind of what I was asking.
Oh,
I remember
yeah.
the mobility discussion, but I don't know.
Angle Fix is actually a really cool web and cell phone app where you can say, you can log anything that needs to be basically fixed in Englewood. And it'll be routed to the right department. So our IT department was like, we can make a whole subsection for micromobility.
Oh,
So bikers who are like, hey, I hate this bike lane or whatever, it'll all go into a system. And then we were talking about the potential of like heat mapping, like accident areas or something, just making it a more useful tool for folks who don't drive.
And then what department would that get routed to? Like who would be responsible for?
So it depends on what the ask is. So I know Rick can speak, like code enforcement gets certain ones dealing with code violations. It just depends on who's the most appropriate person for it
For
to get
this, I was thinking specifically micromobility. Hey, this intersection feels unsafe, or this bike path
would
needs a little
likely go
work.
to a traffic engineer.
Okay.
But if you come up with a subcategory that's not a traffic engineering one, that's totally fine, and they just figure out who to send it to.
I'm just curious.
City manager. Any other topics folks want to talk about in November? Okey-dokey.
Are there new people running for council that aren't on it now, not counting the mayor stuff?
Yes.
Any brand new is it potential there'd be any brand new faces?
Yes.
And if so, could they come to one of our sustainability meetings, November and December, and tell us their thoughts about how they see sustainability in Inglewood?
I think that's an awesome idea and I can absolutely ask.
You're talking about the election will be over by our next.
Yes.
I think?
Yep.
Yeah, because we need.
Yeah,
our-
because that's the
only-
Are
first
you just
Tuesday
saying
and
the
the
new
second
council
Tuesday.
come? or the
There's
new
only
members?
one is it like
That might
federal
be
where
a
they're
better,
like
like, start in
this-
January, elected in November, but start in January.
Yes.
That's correct.
Okay, so they won't be in office yet.
But also with the election being over on the 4th, so the packets and everything for the commission have to go out on the 7th. So that would just be a really tight turnaround, but like in January when they start or something like that, I think that would be really cool.
Do we have a meeting in December? I was wondering because if they have their retreat, council retreat in January and they're talking about our strategic plan, then that's too late to get our
So we
ideas.
typically have a retreat in January. This one might look different only because it's like a complete overhaul, but I can check in on that. Every time I've checked in on strategic plan stuff, it seems a little not pie in the sky, but a little more high level than it has last year where it was mainly updates. But I can ask, because I really like that idea of having.
If we end up with a brand-new council member in District 2, which we will, because they're both non-council people, I would recommend we bring them in ahead of their overwhelming data dump that will happen in January. And the fact that they will also have an assignment to a committee as the liaison, so it would be more difficult to get them that time. So if we want to get their ear, get them at a time when they're thinking about what they're going to do on council kind of thing. So that would be November or December.
Do you think December is possible?
December would be way more likely than
Yeah.
November.
But we could discuss the invitation.
Mhm.
Cool.
Where is
District one other result.
District 2?
It's kind of in the Northwest.
That part that's on the other side.
2, 3.
It's actually
It's on the other side of the map that sticks out.
Rick and Bruce, I was gonna say if you turn around, it's
Behind you.
right behind you. There's a very helpful visual.
What's that?
Okay, yep. I'm in 2 on the east side of Clarkson. My neighbors across the street are not.
East side.
I'm gonna tell our GIS team that people really appreciate the maps in the room.
Sometimes people use it.
Alright. There's nothing else, and no other questions or anything, I guess we can go ahead and adjourn the meeting. Be a record-breaking time for us.
Just 8 minutes over an hour. Thanks, Logan.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
I remember.
Is that what our time slot is supposed to be?
It's cool.
1 hour?
No, there's no
Oh.
set time slot. And sometimes I feel like I need to tell new members that like it's not just like an hour